We picked up anchor this morning and decided to head on out. Only about 10 miles. We're going to go back out to Isla San Marcos just to get away from the heat. It's been ridiculously hot in Santa Rosalia. That's what it is normally, but it's like well into the hundreds when you add the humidity in there. So it's very wet, very hot, very hard to get anything done. Hillary is not feeling very well. She's laying down up on the side deck. A combination of the heat, which is just really dehydrating and lethargic, even we're drinking so much water, and probably a bit of the swells back out on the sea and all. We'll drop the hook in a couple of hours, spend a few days there, keep an eye out for thunderstorms. The winds are looking pretty mild for the next probably 4 to 5 days before they actually pick up at all. There's Hillary down there lying on the deck resting.
It's nice laying in the shade up on the side deck there with the sun, with the shade,
yeah,
the breeze. It helps a lot. It's good.
Beautiful morning here on Isla San Marcos. Just getting some fruit ready to put out in our solar dehydrator. That'll dry out in no time in this weather. During the day at least, and at night it gets a bit humid, but I think it should dry out pretty good. Got a cargo ship passing behind us out here. He came from the gypsum mine down the way. They've been pumping him full all night long. So he's on his way out of here, and Hillary is off on a paddleboard.
Just after 12 a.m. We're out at Isla San Marcos, but we saw some big storms coming, so we made the call to head back into Santa Rosalia. Watching the weather, there was one big system that kind of built over the mainland, came across and dissipated, and as that one was dissipating, another massive one was building and just kind of started to grow like a giant balloon. So we made the call to get out of there. The anchorage was good holding bottom, but we had a lot of rocks and reefs around us and didn't really have any room for air at all if we dragged. We were kind of anchored right by a point with a light on it, but the light doesn't work. So that made it even more difficult, more challenging. It's dark, we wouldn't be able to see if we were getting closer to that. Made the call to head into Santa Rosalia. It's about 10 miles. Decided to go now before the storm gets too close, fingers crossed, so that we can get in before it hits us. We got in just in the nick of time. Just dropped anchor here. It's about 1:30, and literally about 2 minutes after we dropped anchor, the wind picked up here, and it is a-coming. Yep, started getting a couple of little gusts as we turned into the harbour, and then now we dropped anchor, and yeah, definitely, we're probably like 17 knots right now. Here comes the rain, let's get out of it. Okay. See it on the water, run. So it turns out it wasn't rain that we saw coming.
Well, there's rain coming in right now.
Now there is, but it was a giant cloud of dust. The mine, the big copper mine's just up the way, and gypsum mine. So it was blowing, the wind was whipping all the dust down there, and now the rain's coming.
That's what's coming, that's what's hitting us there.
It's like a couple 100-mile wide, massive storm.
Yeah, that's a lot of dust there. Winds are getting up there, getting some 31, 32s.
As the storm passed over, we watched a spectacular show of lightning over the hills, as the storm rebuilt over the warm air above the Baja Peninsula. It's moments like this that remind us of the true force of Mother Nature and the respect we must give her. We could not take the heat in Santa Rosalia. It's spent a day there after the storm, and it is just so dang hot in there. We had to come back out to the island. So we're almost out to San Marcos. Had the spinnaker up for a while, but the wind kind of died, so we're just motoring with the main up right now. Almost there, and cannot wait to jump in the water. So our boat is a mess right now. The spare parts pulled out. Ty is working on the engine.
Alright, I'm about done here today. Kill the engine. Alright. It's pretty hot in here. Working on some overheating issues we still had, so I was playing with the coolant levels and changing out the coolant. And then we couldn't get it started again, or I couldn't get it started again. It was overheating really quickly. So it turns out, I think there was air in the line because our the water from, I think it's clarifier it's called. It goes from our heat exchanger and it feeds into our hot water heater, which we don't even use, but that's the way it runs. And a lot of times, Red, you can get air stuck in those hoses, causing, basically blocking up the system so the coolant's not flowing. I ended up able to burp it, as they call it. That seemed to do the trick. We're running now about 150, 160. Ran it under load for about 20 minutes. Seems alright at the moment, much better than it was. I guess we'll know once we actually go underway with the engine one day. That's enough for today. It's bloody hot.
Good stuff. Good job.
Clean the bottom.
I hear thunder.
Really?
And I see rain.
Oh, probably on the main, on the Baja,
yeah.
But now we're going to put the boat back together.
We got everything out that's usually in the locker, piled up around us. We just got back to the boat here. It's evening, and there's been like a mass bee suicide or something. There's bees everywhere, and most of them are like broken in half. Like the front half of their body is still there, and the back half is broken off. That has the stinger on it. But there's there's probably not hundreds. There's a lot of bees though. They're everywhere, all over everything. The next morning, awakening to a cabin full of bees, we decided it was time to pick up anchor and move around to the north end of the island, hoping to escape from the swarm. We anchored in a nice sandy patch between the rocks, excited to explore our new surroundings. Near shore, there were several sea caves that we were excited to check out, and we had also heard that the rocks off the north point of the island were a great dive spot. Exploring the caves, we found some very cool underwater passageways and tunnels. We also discovered that this was a popular weekend getaway spot for local families from Santa Rosalia. Outside of the caves, we were excited to find a group of Pacific cownose rays, which were cruising the edges of the reef. Just finishing up, got a nice ceviche made up here from our triggerfish that we got the other day, and ended up a little pineapple salsa. These are the apples that Ty cut up to put in our food dehydrator the other day. They've been hanging out Actually took a little bit longer than normal to dry them because it's been so damp and humid lately. They're all dried out. Put them away in the jar and have some nice snacks.
We ended up getting a little bit of bacon when we were in Rosalia last time, Santa Rosalia. We don't usually have bacon on board, but we thought we'd try some out for brekkie. So it smells really good with the onions. We're going to do a couple of fried eggs. And then I've also got a batch of black beans we're going to put on in the pressure cooker right now, early morning, so we'll get the heat out of the way. Then we'll have some beans for salads and stuff, as well as hummus or whatever we want to do. And I think in a little bit we're going to go for a dive today with a couple of the other blokes around the area that came in. We're going to go do a little dive, right Hill?
Yeah, we're excited about that.
It'll be exciting. We'll check it out. It's a nice, pretty nice night and a beautiful morning.
We jumped in for a dive off the northern point of the island, along with the guys from the 2 other boats anchored here, and a curious group of sea lions which inhabited the rocks. Beneath the surface, we found lots of the very pretty chocolate chip sea stars, and a number of other unique creatures, such as gorgonians, sea fans, and even a giant sea cucumber. But best of all, a huge diamond stingray.
We've been out here at Isla San Marcos now for a few days. Yeah, so we spent about 2 nights around on the west side here, but now we're here on the north side where the guidebooks don't really talk about it being a very nice overnight anchorage. But I'm guessing in the big season when you've got northerlies it wouldn't be great, but right now, beautiful. Nice sandy bottom. Nice sunset here again. Some of the fish are jumping, so stuff's out feeding. We've seen a few dorados kind of out jumping around chasing things.
Need to find their way onto our lures.
Yes, they do. And we had a good dive though and saw some good stuff.
Yeah, really nice.
And a bunch of sea lions over there.
Yeah, it was the first time we've seen sea lions since we left out of the pause area.
I got my hair cut today. Hillary did another one.
Needs a little bit cleaning up still.
We didn't get to finish it because we went out for a dive. So just kind of gave it a bit of a trim up and then it'll get cleaned up probably tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, I see the tips of the mantas. Look at them all.
Oh, yeah, they're right there.
It's pretty cool, the little manta. These are we think these are the cow nose, you said?
Cow nose rays,
Cow nose rays. They're pretty awesome. We could get pretty close to these guys.
Mm-hmm. They're small little guys.
They're smaller than the devil rays even, devil bat rays, and they're also more brown.
Yeah.
Right? I guess brown would be the colour. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're really cool. You can get pretty close to them. They're just kind of hanging out on top with their wingtips hanging out.
Yeah.
I noticed a little while ago when I was cleaning the bottom that we're actually, our cone zinc on the back of our prop is missing one of the screws to hold it in. There's usually 3 screws, but there's only 2 there. I have no idea how one came out. They shouldn't really wriggle free that easy, but it did. And I don't think we've got any spares, so we need to look for one of these when we go into town. I just took one out again now so I could measure it to see what size it is, and it looks like it's a number 10 metric there, and it's like an Allen hex one. So our challenge, of course, again is going to be in Santa Rosalia when we go back in, is finding a stainless one.
With our work done for the day, we headed out on another adventure to explore a tiny sea cave that I had found earlier in the day.
Hello? Anybody home? Oh, big crab right here. Holy shit, there's a lot of crabs. That's scaring the crap out of me. Crazy noises. Oh, good. Way back. Oh! Water must come from the other side, that's the opening. It smells so musty in here. A little beach in here.
So bright.
I like that cabin back in here, that spot there.
Yeah, it's just a bright light. Made it back out. After a lovely time at San Marcos, it was time to head back into Santa Rosalia to resupply before making our way further north.
We just came in to shore here. This is why we don't get in the water here in the harbour, right?
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
It smells terrible.
It smells really bad.
We don't use any of the seawater, so we fill our sinks before we came in here in Santa Rosalia. But today we're leaving, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
That's our plan. We're actually on our way to the grocery store right now. Looking at the pastries.
Something for breakfast.
All the Mexican grocery stores always have like really nice pastries. They bake them all here.
So before we left, we heard there could be issues getting charcoal in Mexico, and we've seen it pretty much everywhere, even in tiny little fishing villages.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a pretty easy, common thing.
Everywhere. There's like bulk plastic bags down here, and then there's like the more production bags up here, and even some sort of a lighter fluid, right?
Yeah. Alright, we're all stocked up, back at the dinghy. Gotta row it back out to Verona now.
We're ready to head out. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and until next time.
Adios.
Cheers. Huge thanks to all our patrons and all of you guys watching. Leave us a comment below. Until next time, cheers.
Adios.
Bye.